Welcome to No Brainer MMA. Going to be going over the prelims for UFC 281. The main event's already out, and I'll have the early prelims up by probably tomorrow too. But we're going to get right into this: Ottoman Azatar versus Matt Frevola. And I'm going to put a picture of Matt Frevola up for everyone, this Tapology picture, and then I think everyone will agree that he should probably lose this weekend. But actually, the odds maker has this at pretty much a dead even. I think Azatar is a pretty clear path to victory. Matt Frevola finally got his first UFC KO in his last time out, but he was 2-3-1 to start the UFC, getting knocked down in 5 different times in 3 different fights leading up to that fight. Getting outstruck in all those fights. Well, Azatar has an entirely different approach and is a really insanely fast-paced, athletic striker, and has resulted in back-to-back first-round KOs to start his UFC career. And he's finished 12 out of his 13 pro wins, 9 of them in the very first round. Azatar is very technically sound Muay Thai striker who's very explosive, super athletic, like I said before, and has looked nothing less than perfect so far in the UFC. But that being said, there is a lot of question marks around his game. How is his grappling or grappling defense, or how's his gas tank? He's only seen the third round 2 times in his 13 pro MMA career. I did go back and watch the last time he fought into the third round 4 fights ago back in 2017 against Alejandro Martinez. And surprisingly, that was back in 2017, and he's only had 3 fights since, which is kind of crazy considering that he's like in his prime right now. But he did show off his that he had a grappling game in that fight, and his cardio did hold up pretty good into the third round. The guy that he was facing wasn't that good of a grappler, but still, it was nice to see that he had somewhat idea of what to do. Matt Frevola, though, he seriously is an enigma. He wins when he shouldn't, and he loses when he should. So he's a very tough guy to bet on. And he also just beat another guy he was supposed to lose to in his last time out when he beat another undefeated fighter, Genaro Valdez, who was making his UFC debut in the first round. Frevola is going to have a grappling heavy approach in this fight. Just he's going to have to. There's no way he can stand with Azatar. But 2 out of his 3 UFC losses have come by first round KO, and that's just how I see this fight going. But I get why the odds are like this because there's so many question marks around Azatar, but I'm going to go with him in this one. And I don't know. I got a good feeling about it. And we're going to move right into the next one, which is Andre Petroski versus Wellington Turman. I think that season, a tough 29 with Andre Petroski, Brian Battle, it produced some like pretty good fighters that have come out of the Ultimate Fire in a long time, I think. Ricky Tercios and Tresean Gore were also in that. They're much more green, but they're still they have a solid base. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. I cashed in on Andre Petroski against Nick Maximov in his last time out at an over plus 300. So I owe it to the guy to talk him up a little bit. He's had 3 fights in the UFC, 3 finishes, 2 by sub, 1 by KO, and 2 of the finishes were in the third, really showing off that the guy has great cardio and doesn't give up as the fight goes on. He doesn't slow down. He's also a smothering grappler. He averages 4.1 takedowns per fight at 47% accuracy and has yet to be taken down in the UFC. He's going to be taking on Wellington Turman, who is on a 2-fight winning streak. But I haven't really been impressed by his performance, to quote GSP. The 2-fight winning streak is a split decision over Sam Alvey, who was on that notorious losing streak, and 2-8 in his last 10, Mirko Kirkunov, who both have since been cut from the UFC. Turman really relies on his grappling. His stand-up is poor, so Petroski has the edge on the feet, I think, for sure. And Petroski has some great takedown defense, so even if Turman wanted to, I don't know if he could take him down. And also, Petroski has great grappling for himself. So Petroski, I think it's just a bad matchup for Turman when it comes down to it. So I'm going to be going Andre Petroski in that one, and which is going to move us right into the next one, which is Aaron Blanchfield versus Molly McCann. I think this fight is going to bring Molly McCann back down to earth a little bit. And don't get me wrong, I love watching her. I don't think Paddy Pimblett is that good. I think he's an obnoxious prick too, but Molly McCann, I think, is great. Super fun to watch. How can you not like her? A lot more humble than Paddy Pimblett too. McCann just has that fight style that is just so entertaining. The only way to describe her is a brawler, I would say. Just stand in the center of the octagon and slug it out type, which has given her a 3-fight winning streak with 3 fight of the night or performance of the night and back-to-back spinning back elbows KOs, which I don't think has ever happened ever in the history of the UFC. Aaron Blanchfield, though, stylistically is not a good matchup for. On McCann's 3-fight winning streak, she fought two girls with 0 UFC career takedowns and someone that averaged zero point 0.5 over this winning streak. But before that, she was on a 2-fight losing skid to Laura Caproccio, who averages over three takedowns a fight, and Talia Santos, who averages over 2. And Erin Blanchfield just so happens to be a tremendous grappler. She's one of the fastest rising flyweights on the roster, and she's gotten 3 one-sided wins, like Alex Pereira in the main event, and has a black belt in BJJ. And averages 4 takedowns per fight at 66% accuracy. So if I'm being honest, McCann isn't the toughest competition that she's even faced, in my opinion, because Aaron Blanchfield faced Miranda Maverick and beat her pretty good. So I think Blanchfield has this one pretty confidently. And the odds makers are seeing it too. She's at like a minus 400 or something crazy already. So I'm going to go Aaron Blanchfield, and I'm going to move right into the next one, which is Dominic Reyes versus Ryan Spann. I'm so excited for this one. Just stop counting out Dominic Reyes. He's on a 3-fight losing skid, and while some people think he'll be on the Bellator roster by early next week, I see that he is well overdue for a win, and I really like this matchup for him. I don't care what anyone says. Reyes beat John Jones to start this losing skid for the light heavyweight belt. Then later that same year, 6 months later, fought again for the light heavyweight belt against Jan Blachowicz and lost again. Then fought the current light heavyweight champ, Jerry Prochazka, whatever the fuck it is, and lost again. So how can you blame this guy for losing? Seriously, he's literally fought the 3 best guys, arguably, at 205. So cut the man all the slack he needs. And he's taking on Ryan Spann, who's 3-2 in his last 5 and is coming off a very impressive first-round sub over Ion Cutelaba. These guys, they fight pretty similar. They're both heavy-handed strikers, and they also have good sub games. And I think that Reyes is just on a different level, though. Spann is more active with takedowns. That being said, he hasn't registered a takedown in 3 fights. Also, Spann has 7 pro losses. 5 of them ended by finish. 4 of them finished in the first. So Dominic Reyes' first round finish is looking pretty nice right now. And I hope he gets back in the win column with this one. And then I'm gonna go with Dominic Reyes, and we're gonna move right into the next one, Renato Moicano versus Brad Riddell. I'm gonna do this pick right now, and then I think I might switch my pick at the end of it, because I wrote this yesterday, and I don't know, I just got to thinking, and I might switch it up right now. So we'll see. Very interesting matchup here. Renato Moicano is quietly and consistently been a killer for a while now, and I don't think he really gets the recognition he deserves. He's 8-5 in the UFC, with the 5 losses coming from guys inside the top 10, every single one of them. He's a great submission artist with 4 out of his last 5 wins coming by sub, and he also has some pretty underrated, unorthodox striking. But his chin is questionable. 3 out of his last 4 losses have come by KO, granted over some very tough guys, though. So he is very well rounded. He has a plus 0.8 striking differential at 48% accuracy and 1.7 takedowns with the same accuracy. He's taken on Brad Riddell, who hit the ground running after joining the UFC with 4 straight wins, including Drew Dober and Magomed Mustafayev. He's a Muay Thai fighter fighting out of City Kickboxing. He's one of the 4 City Kickboxing guys fighting on this card. And he also fights out of Tiger Muay Thai. He's a very technical striker, but he's kind of one-sided, and he doesn't have power in his punches. If you play his game and try to beat him in a stand-up fight decision, like, point fight him to a decision, you're going to have a really hard time. But grapple with him. He only has a 62% takedown defense. Wear in his gas tank. Force him to fight outside of his comfort zone. You do pretty well. Moicano's biggest weakness is that chin of his, like I said before. Riddell doesn't have a lot of power, so I wasn't too worried about it. And Jalen Turner might have found a weakness in Riddell's game in his last time out after getting subbed in 45 seconds in the first. So Moicano is a very, very good BJJ practitioner, and that does scare me. This is such a close call. I was going to switch it, but I'm just going to stick with my gut. I'm going to go Moicano in that one, that's just how I see it going right there. And I don't know. I was thinking today, Brad Riddell. I kind of got to thinking, I was like, you know, he's overdue for a win. He's on this big card with all of his teammates, but I'll go Moicano. Stick it to my guns. All right, that's it for the prelims, and then yeah, I'll have the early prelims out by tomorrow. All right, no brainer. Thanks, Bruce.